evening, everyone. It's Michael from Bro JMR, and I have for you a brand new movie review in my long forgotten series called Michael's Movie Reviews, or MMR for short. And today I'm going to be doing a review of the 1999 sports drama Varsity Blues. The reason why I came across this one is Chun TV on today, and Spike, the TV channel Spike was on, and it happened to be playing, and I started watching it. I thought, you know, I've got some stuff to do today. I'll watch this for a few minutes and then move on. And I forgot how edited they put stuff on TV. And I was like, you know, screw this, dude. I can't watch this. So I just put the Blu-ray in and said, I'm gonna watch it. And it was like, Jonathan said, well, why don't you just review it? And I was like, well, you know what? I will. So here it is. Here's my opinion on it. I dressed for the occasion. I've got my football jersey on. Yes, people, I actually do own a football jersey. And let's talk about Varsity Blues. 1999. It came out. Release date was January 15th, 1999. It had a $16 million budget, to which it made $52,894,169 total domestic gross. I think with the worldwide domestic, or excuse me, the worldwide gross, I think, was only added another 1.4 million. So you're looking at 55 million-ish total, which is not a lot. Opening weekend was January 15th through the 17th. It was 15.2 million. You add in the holiday, because it was a 4-day extended weekend, it's a 17.5. But you have to understand that's $1999, and the second place movie that those 2 weeks was Patch Adams. So it really didn't have a lot of competition. And it was a real sleeper hit. I mean, they really expected it not to make a lot of money. So they told, basically, you know, it's going to be an indie film. This is one of the first movies that MTV actually produced. And so, you know, they were still trying to get their footing in. And so they basically said, hey, you know, this is not going to make a lot of money, so don't be disappointed if we don't get a big payday out of this. Turned out to be a great sleeper hit. It was in the box office top 10 for for 5 weeks. It was in the top 10, and it slowly dropped after that, as many movies do. Great cast, obviously James Van Der Beek, John Voight, Paul Walker, Amy Smart, and in her very first film, Ali Larter. Obviously, what is often forgotten on the top of these is Ron Lister, who played Billy Bob, who, you know, of course, sadly passed away earlier this year. Great cast. I'd like to think that this is one of those movies that, you know, where a lot of the cast were, you know, relatively unknown. The biggest name obviously was James Van Der Beek with his work on Dawson, or excuse me, you know, Dawson's Creek, and you know, John Voight, of course, because, you know, he's hella famous. I mean, hell, he's super hella famous. Whatever. Great film. Some of the things I want to talk about, besides the soundtrack, which, Jesus, the soundtrack is just phenomenal. There was this whole string of films where, in the late 90s, where the soundtrack was just so great. And if I can find it, I will, you know, bring it up as we're doing this review. But some of the themes I want to talk about is the attitude about football in a small town in West Texas. Now, I went to high school in a small town in East Texas. So believe me, I know all about high school football. For those of you who know me now, know that I am not, I could care less about football. I don't get it. I don't get the obsession behind it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But I know football. I understand the game. I understand the rules. And I can thank my parents for moving us to a small town in East Texas for that, because high school football on Friday nights, that's where it was. That's the way it is. That's still the way it is in Texas. But high school football in Texas, some of the examples from it, basically the town shuts down at 5, 6 o'clock on Friday night, because they're all heading to the school. To be game starts usually between 7 and 7:30. The whole town shuts down. And when it's an away game, especially in a small town, they put a sign up: the last one out of town shuts out the lights. So basically, there is nothing going on Friday night. Everybody is at the high school football stadium cheering on their local high school football team. And that's just the way it is. That's just the obsession with this area. I'm sure in other states it is as well, but it just seems that in Texas, high school football means so much more than other states that I've lived in, where I've gone to football games. It just wasn't the same at all. Another theme I want to talk about from this movie is the parents in the town. You would think in a perfect world that it would all be all about the kids playing the game. I'm not talking about just in this movie. I'm just talking about in High School Football Society. The theme of parents living vicariously through their children. There's many scenes where the parents of the 3 or 4 main characters are watching the Saturday practices, the two-a-days, and they're just like, God, man, shit, them boys are having a time of their life. Man, I wish we were out there doing that right now again. And this just, I guess they're just trying to relive their glory days. And it seems that in that aspect, the parents make it all about them. They don't make it about their kids out there playing football. They're making it all about them. A great example is when Paul Walker's character Lance gets injured and tears basically fucks his knee totally up. And you see, let's see, what was the exact line? Lance's dad, after that happens, there's like the shock and awe, and the crowd goes silent. Everybody's like, holding on to the dad. And the dad looks down and realizes what's going on, and he says, "Lord, don't do this to me." It's not about you, it's about your kid. I mean, good Lord. And that's just something that I don't understand about it. It's like, there's other examples in this as well, but this is about kids playing a game and learning sportsmanship and learning, fair play. And it should be a goal for them. If they're good at football, if they're good at sports, athletics, that's great. If that can get them into a good school and get their school paid for, that's great, because the percentage of people that actually make it into professional sports is very, very low, as everybody knows. So it should be more about them getting in there, getting a good education so they can get a good job, just in case their sports career doesn't pan out. But these parents just make it seem like, the world is going to end if their kid doesn't play football. Their world's going to end if their kid gets hurt playing football or whatever. Another thing is the power-hungry head coach. Um, Especially in this particular movie, John Voight playing Coach Bud Kilmer. He is a power-hungry son of a bitch in this movie. Like, everybody kisses his ass. And I'm not talking about the players, because obviously at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, they finally revolt against him, but tell him off. And he gets, basically what's coming to him. But for the rest of the movie, everybody kisses this coach's ass just because he's been there 30 years and he's won 2 state championships and 22 district titles. That's all this coach cares about. All he cares about is his next district title. He's like Captain Ahab in Moby Dick. He's all about his next hunt, his next conquest. He's got to get that great white whale. And he doesn't even care about the kids that plays for him. I mean, he shoots them, full of drugs to block pain blockers. To that way they can keep playing when they screw their knee up, when they tear ligaments in their legs. They just gives them a shot and tells them to keep going. And you can tell that his attitude towards the kids, he just doesn't care about them. For instance, before Jonathan Moxon, James Van Der Beek's character, gets thrust into the spotlight, Kilmer is a complete asshole to him. Seriously, like, he doesn't give a crap about him. He said, he actually flat out told him, if your daddy didn't play his heart out for me, I would have cut your ass a long time ago. But then as soon as he becomes the head quarterback, his whole attitude changes. He's like, he only cares about whoever his stars are. And even then, he doesn't care about them. He just fakes cares about them. But John Voight, excellent job. That was the standout performance. I mean, I think out of all the great performances in this movie, John Voight takes the cake as, the asshole coach that doesn't care about anybody. He only cares about himself, and it's just a great thing. The final topic I want to talk about is the idea of God. I'm not talking about a religious God. I'm talking about being gods. It's mentioned several times that the football players are referred to as gods, and that's in combination with everything else. Like, you have to go to the very end, to hear the last speech that Jonathan Mox gives before the last half of the last game. But anyway, they talk about, let's go out there and be gods for this last half of football. Let's do the best we can. Let's play our hearts out, because everybody is referred to them as gods throughout this entire movie. And it's not necessarily a good thing, because they're building them up so high that they can't fail, and when they do fail, everybody turns on them. But when Mox says it at the very end, let's go out and play like gods, let's go out and play heroes. That is I believe, a proper, more good representation of the gods that they want to represent. And it works out. I mean, they get their stuff together, they play hard, they leave it all out in the field, they don't play scared. And as with every single sports movie there is, well, the majority of all sports movies, they win at the end. Spoiler alert. I think there needs to be more sports movies where the main team loses the big game, but this is great because they overcome all the odds, and they win without their coach. That's the most important thing. They win without their coach. They win without any leadership. The kids step up, take control, and they just go out there and save, just kick ass out on the field, and it's great. Great movie. It's really a kind of coming of age tale. It's mainly about this kid Mox, who's always been in the sidelines, and finally he gets thrust into the spotlight, and he has to figure out a way to handle it while still dealing with his own moral compass and dealing with this abusive coach. And he has to overcome all these things to figure out, how to save the day and how to basically be a hero. Real quick, I want to speak on the soundtrack, great soundtrack. We got Green Day, we got Loudmouth, we got Dave Grohl, Collective Soul, Fastball, Third Eye Blind, Jonas Starks, Eddie Van Halen, Van Halen basically, Monster Magnet, Days of the New, Sprung Monkey covering AC/DC's Thunderstruck, which is great, and Caroline Spine doing the title song of Varsity Blue, which is incredible, which is really, really good. Great film. If you're into sports movies and you haven't seen this movie, I don't know how you haven't seen this already, but great film for sports lovers, great film for football lovers, great film for drama, people that love dramatic films, those who love teen movies. If you want a good parody of this, watch Not Another Teen Movie. It's basically the main crux is the Varsity Blues mixed in with She's All That. So good stuff. So thanks for watching. Maybe more of these will come out in the near future. I don't know. So thanks for watching. Blessed be.